Welcome to the BMAX Sports Podcast.
Angel, we got 30 minutes for the rest of our lives. 30 minutes for the rest of our lives.
Make sure to subscribe on all platforms.
Let's be great. Let's be great.
Hope you enjoy the show.
And we're live. Jesus Christ. And we're live, ladies and gentlemen. You may notice how good our audio sounds. You're welcome. Fuck you. I'm not telling any tips or pointers, so don't ask. I've seen to stumble across a video. Hutto, if you could, you can lean back a hair when you're vaping, and you won't be able to hear it as well anyway. So our audio quality is outstanding now, as we can hear in our headphones. Anyway, long story short, we're here for another podcast. What you fucking guys love, apparently. Anyway, so Josh, how was your day today, buddy?
It's a fantastic, very productive day we had going on, man. What about you?
I've had better days. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've had better days.
Visit to the old gal, the old 800 ton.
Yeah. Rough day at work. Nothing too serious though. Nothing Tate can't handle. So here we are. First thing on the docket. If you guys follow me on Facebook, you've known I've gone on a new quest with my diet. First and foremost, I'm just going to tell you what my diet is right now. I'm going vegan. Some people don't understand it. Josh being
I
one.
think it's stupid.
Well,
You got canine teeth for a reason, baby.
yeah, to chew plants.
To chew meat.
We evolved with. We went through a series of evolutions to get canine teeth, I believe. Our ancestors, I believe that humans are built to eat plants. That's just my opinion. Through numerous hours of research, I've delved into many diets, each having their own benefits to themselves. For instance, you tried the carnivore diet that Joe Rogan has done, and it works. It depends on what you want out of your diet. It is good in its own way.
Honestly, I loved it. If it wasn't just so expensive, like, because I mean, I personally can't stand chicken because when I was doing another diet, I just ate chicken all the time, and now I've got to where I can barely eat it unless it's something that's like really seasoned or something like that. It's just, dude, I can't stand to eat it. But the meat, like, I love any kind of beef, ground beef, chuck beef, roast beef,
Dick beef.
facts.
Anyway, all right. So, like I said, each diet has its own, of course, positives and negatives. So for my particular case, what I wanted out of my diet, it looked like vegan was the one I wanted to try, and I'm gonna do a month. And from the research I've done, I should see some improvements in my health, my feeling, my energy levels. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people think protein comes solely from meat, and that's so far from the truth. Actually, your essential amino acids can only be found in plants. So it helps you recover. It helps you build muscle. A lot of people are starting to realize this. For instance, if you're into documentaries, I really suggest you watch a documentary called Game Changers on Netflix. It's what shed light to the vegan experience for me. There's several bodybuilders, several ultra marathon runners, several athletes in general that are vegan, and they just rave about their energy levels, their recovery rate, etc., etc. So I'm gonna tell you what I'm experiencing so far. This podcast will be released later on in the week than we're recording it. We're recording right now on a Tuesday afternoon. So I started this venture Sunday night. Basically, is when I watched that documentary. I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna try it." So far, the only difference I've noticed, and I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys at all times, the only difference I notice is I'm fucking hungry as shit. I'm going to be honest with you. So far, I know I'm eating healthier, and that's just good in general. For instance, I'm going to take you through what I've eaten so far today. So today I woke up, I got called into work earlier than I expected, so I didn't grab breakfast, but I had a cup of coffee. No creamer, of course, which I like my coffee black anyway. I'm starting to become a coffee connoisseur, I guess. Hutto introduced me to it. I've tried the tea. The tea's not the same. Fuck tea.
Well,
The
that's
tea-
what I told you. Tate was like, I'm not drinking coffee anymore. I'm going to drink this tea, and it's better for you, and it gives you all this stuff. I'm like, dude, you're going to want to drink coffee.
Well, technically, again, coffee has its benefits. Tea has its benefits. From what I was looking to get out of an energy drink, I guess you would call it. It's not really an energy drink.
Yeah.
But what
That's
I was looking
Energy
to
stimulator.
stimulate myself in the morning, it looked like tea more aligned with what I was looking for out of that beverage in the morning. But it tastes so. Green tea is what I was drinking, and you can make it in your Keurig. They make the little K cups.
But was it hot?
Yeah,
Oh, that doesn't sound good. Dude, I just can't. Coffee has this certain taste. And I mean, I guess the only experience I have from tea is just like making sweet tea. And the tea that comes out of the, when I make sweet tea, I make it, just put the bags in my coffee maker and make it. And the tea that comes out of there without the sugar, I just hate the smell of it in general without the sugar in it.
Well, the tea I had was, I got it from Amazon, was called Zen tea. It had some lemongrass in it, some mint. It's fucking bad, dude. I have some if you want to take some with you and try it.
I'll taste some at the end of the pod.
It's fucking
Just
pretty
to-
bad. I couldn't make this was before I, of course, started my vegan diet. So they said to help with the taste and to add some milk to it. It's still fucking bad. There's no way around avoiding that taste. So I'm back on the coffee kick. So I had coffee this morning. At 9 o'clock, I had my first break, and I had a little tray with some kiwi and some strawberry sliced up in it. That's what I had for my break. At lunch, I had a salad, and the only thing I had on my salad was croutons and balsamic dressing, which I am a huge fan of. I love that dressing. I liked that before I started the diet. And then when I got home, I had some avocado toast and another salad. So, and I'm still pretty fucking hungry, and I just ate. So far, I haven't seen any benefits. It's only been 48 hours. I'm not expecting a whole lot immediately. It's going to take a while, but the only thing I've noticed so far is I'm hungry as shit.
I mean, I love vegetables too. I mean, I'm a big vegetable person. I eat vegetables with most every meal. I just don't see myself going out without eating meat. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I just can't see myself. It's so delicious. And but I did notice the thing that helped me, because for those of you who don't know, I've gained a lot of weight back from when I lost some, but I was like 250 pounds. I dropped down to 205. What helped me the most when I was losing that weight was intermittent fasting.
And that, of course, like I said, any diet is going to have its own benefits. And it really, I've done intermittent fasting. I liked it, honestly. It's not that hard to do.
The only thing is getting used to it is getting used to not eating or not snacking, because my worst habit is when I go home after work, because I usually eat breakfast and I usually eat a bigger breakfast and bigger lunch, and then my dinner is just whatever's left over.
Moderate.
Yeah, so it's not that big. But the worst thing for me is like after dinner, like when I'm playing video games or something.
Oh shit, yeah.
You know, you kind of want something to snack on, or just something to like to drink or something like that. And I mean, with the intermittent fasting, you can drink water during your off
You can
times.
drink coffee too, correct?
Yeah. So your liquid intake, as long as it's not something like a beer or something like that, it's not. And which is interesting too, because when I was losing weight, I did like kind of a test. Went for like 1 month without drinking beer, and it really didn't have any effect on my weight loss, because like I lost, like I was kind of tracking by month how much weight I lost this month, how much. And I mean, there was no difference. I lost the same, was doing the same kind of workout, same eating habits, everything. And which, I mean, I was only drinking on the weekend in the first place. So
yeah, so
it was maybe 12 to 25 beers a weekend.
Holy
maybe.
fuck, get fucked, buddy.
But it really didn't make a difference. So, but I really recommend the intermittent fasting. It's once you get used to it and you get on that schedule, my weight loss
And the weight
started
falls
dropping.
off, man.
Yes, it started
It
dropping
really does.
increasingly fast once I started that.
See, I had these same results. When I did intermittent fasting, I lost 10 pounds in like 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
it was.
I mean, the other thing about the vegan diet is because I love milk.
I do
Milk is,
too.
dude. Drinking
I
milk,
fucking
going
love-
home, and that's part of my supper too, dude. I buy like 4 or 5 jars of peanut butter at a time, and just like sometimes I just go home, get a couple of scoots of peanut butter, and drink some milk, and dude, it just hits the spot.
Well, you can have peanut butter as long as it's only that peanut. I mean, they make vegan peanut butter and it tastes the same. I've had it.
I mean, what's the difference between a vegan peanut butter? and
You
peanut
can't
butter?
have actual butter in it because butter is a dairy product.
Dude,
that's
stupid.
But you can have almond milk, which I'm a fan of. I like almond milk. It's a little different than regular milk, but it's still good in its own way. All right. Anyway, enough about my diet. I know you fuckers are like, this bitch is still fat. I believe him when he's skinny. So anyway.
Well, you see what happened to me. I'm probably sitting at like 230 now.
Well,
I was at
if I feel
205.
better and I'm losing weight and I've got raised energy levels, less inflammation after workout, shit like that, I'm probably going to continue it. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Our next topic is, did you see today Anthony Johnson has entered his name back into the mandatory drug testing program that the UFC offers? It basically, for people that don't know what it is, it's something that Brock Lesnar didn't have to do. He retired, and it's bullshit. And this is why a lot of people were mad at the UFC. They showed favoritism to Brock Lesnar. I feel like Brock Lesnar retired, went back to the WWE. What a fucking joke. Anyway, long story short, he went back to the WWE. And when UFC 200 came around, the UFC obviously wanted to make that a big card as UFC 200. They wanted to make it a big deal. Who better than to help headline that card than Brock Lesnar? So when Brock showed interest, normally an athlete would have to go through a 6-month testing process, which doesn't mean you get tested every day for 6 months. It means you make yourself available to randomized drug testing for 6 months before you're eligible. Well, the UFC is the one that mandates this drug program, so they can do what they see fit. And they're a private company. They can do what the fuck they want. It was a good business decision, but it pissed a lot of the athletes off. He didn't have to participate in this mandatory 6-month drug testing, in which he was taking steroids or at least performance-enhancing drugs that are against the UFC's what they allow. So he comes back, beats the absolute fuck out of Mark Hunt, lays on him the whole fight, destroys this guy. But you got to look out for your athletes. Brock Lesnar hasn't fought again since then.
Well, do you think it was because obviously he was doing steroids when he was working with the WWE. So do you think it was because he was on a post cycle? Because, that could be legitimate. He could have just told Dana, like, look, I'm on steroids to prevent my body from screwing up. Because, when you come off a cycle, you have to do a post cycle. To prevent it. So do you think that he just told him he was on a post cycle? And
yeah, and I think Dana White
was
looked the other way.
Yeah.
And I think it's...
Because I could explain
I think it's unacceptable what they did. Mark Hunt was very vocal about it. And
Well,
the thing is,
fair.
even if you're... USADA does its own testing.
Yeah.
USADA has its own sanction. So USADA pops Brock Lesnar pre UFC 200, and he fails the test, and Dana White keeps it under wraps until after the fight, so he can still fight, so they can make their money. I understand it from a business aspect, but from a moral standpoint, my morals wouldn't allow me to do that. And plus, I do not like Brock Lesnar.
It kind of screws the guys who. Actually, it's not even. It kind of does. It does screw the guys. It gives the guys who are on juice and on other types of enhanced performance enhancers. It gives them a leg up, and that's not something to. If it does, it actually does.
And my thing is, let's make it fair for everybody. If Dana White is going to enforce mandatory drug testing 6 months before you're eligible to fight, do it for fucking everybody. He knew Brock Lesnar was on steroids. Anybody can look at this human being and tell he has done steroids. Anybody can look at Mark Hunt and tell this fucker's probably not doing steroids.
Yeah.
He's overweight, but he will knock you the fuck out. Unfortunately, Brock Lesnar's looking down a late on him.
Dude, you know what I want? I want one division of the UFC where all of them are on steroids. Like, just every one of them, just jacked out of their minds, killing each other.
If that's known beforehand, of course.
Well, and
that's
what I'm saying. Just
I'd be done with that.
Like,
too.
they'll just be like, UFC 251 and a half, and the half stands for, and they're all on steroids. and you just got these dudes who are jacked out of their mind, roid rage, and kicking each other in the face. That'd be fantastic.
I mean, I'd watch it. I'm not going to sit
It
here
was
and lie
like
and say I
UFC
wouldn't.
steroid edition.
Yeah. But this means Anthony Johnson is one step closer to coming out of retirement. What I find ironic about it is the timing. DC has, of course, retired. John Jones announced Monday, maybe, that he's going to vacate his title and he wants to move up to heavyweight. So,
I didn't see that.
yeah, he's vacating his title.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, so that it's an interesting.
Well, I think
time.
it's the right thing for him to do because of the trouble that he's in.
Well, no,
And-
he can still fight. He wants to fight at heavyweight now.
Yeah, but I mean, still, a lot of dudes would like hold on to it and be like, "I'm gonna hold this belt until somebody takes it from me." I think that was kind of the.
Well, he could fight tomorrow if he wanted to.
Yeah.
I don't know what his deal is, why he was wanting to move up to heavyweight. I guess he doesn't see competition maybe at 205, but with Anthony Johnson coming in, that's somebody that could knock your lights out, and
Yeah.
any punch can knock you. He's got power, like scary power.
Is John Jones and Israel still scheduled to fight 2021?
I never heard that.
I thought they were summer of 2021. I could be wrong.
I haven't heard that, so I can't confirm or deny that. I would like to see that fight.
That would kind of throw that out the window. And I mean, unless he makes a dramatic weight cut.
He wants. I don't think John Jones could make 185. I think Israel would have to come to 205 or maybe a catch weight. But it's interesting to see where this is going to go. So Anthony Johnson in 6 months will be eligible to fight.
Yeah.
As of today, he's entered his name in there. In 6 months from today, he'll be eligible to fight as long as he passes all his drug tests. So I'm sure. I don't know. I know he got into bodybuilding. I don't know if he was on steroids or what, but now he's back. He's lost a lot of weight. He's back down to what he normally walks around at, which I can speculate would be between 220 and 230, somewhere in there is what he looks like he weighs. And the fact that he ever made the 170-pound division is fucking astonishing.
Yeah, really.
That's
I mean,
a lot
he's
of
a
weight.
big dude. He's a.
Yeah, for sure. But I think you might see Anthony Johnson. I'll be interested to see who welcomes back to the UFC. There's a lot of interesting matchups at light heavyweight for him. Right now, light heavyweight used to be loaded with talent. Right now, you got John Jones. You got what's that guy's name he just fought? Was it Reyes? Is that his last name? I think that's his last name. And then there's a significant drop off. I feel like a lot of the fighters have grown old. They're out of their fight prime. Technically, I guess Anthony Johnson's out of his fight prime. He's 36. We'll see how he does. I'm happy for him. Of course, he's from my hometown, Dublin. So we look forward to him getting back in the octagon. Maybe he can collect some hardware. Maybe he can finally get a title. That'd be awesome. Okay, so next on the docket, I was on Twitter earlier today. I came home and showered before I went back to work, and I was looking on Twitter and I seen Susan B. Anthony fucking trending. Have you seen this shit?
Yeah, I have.
So Trump pardoned her, right?
Yes.
Because back in the day, she was found guilty of illegal voting. She was convicted by an all-male jury. Just some fishy shit going on. But people, I can't understand why people would be mad about this. There are people that are legitimately fucking pissed off at Donald Trump for pardoning her.
Who is? Do you know? I mean,
I know who it is. It's the left, the Democrats.
Well,
they're pissed off because, and they quote from a long time ago that she doesn't want to be pardoned. I mean, she said she did. I mean, that's a quote from her. She didn't want to be pardoned. Whatever. This was years ago. If Trump wants to pardon her, I don't see the big deal in it. Like, why are you so fucking mad about it?
Because they hate him. That's the only reason. And I mean, I understand from the standpoint where, in that time, because the reason that she was charged was because she was a woman, she went and illegally voted. That's why she was charged, and I can understand where she wouldn't want to be pardoned because she was trying to make a statement. And I mean, a good statement at that. I mean,
yeah.
Any person in the United States, as long as they're a citizen, in my mind, should be able to vote, whether they're a woman, whatever. I mean,
how do you feel about convicted felons?
I don't think convicted felons should be able to vote. After their
that's a tough topic for me.
Here's my opinion. I think that there needs to be a period after they are after they're let out that they should not be able to vote, whether it be a 10-year period, a 5-year period. I don't know, but you're already looking at people who have committed a crime and they knew they committed a crime and got caught committing a crime. To me, they do not have America's best interest in mind. That's just my opinion. I mean, there's a lot of people out here that would disagree with me. I'm 100% in disagreement with the whole deal now that they're trying to get people in prison to vote. I think once you're in prison, you've lost your right. I mean, that's just it. Because a lot of those guys will vote solely on who they think will get them out earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be the only.
That's obvious, right?
But I do think there needs to be a penalty, and that your voice doesn't need to be heard if you break the law for a certain amount of time. But I mean, I know a bunch of guys who are felons, who obviously they made mistakes that they didn't mean to make, and they're good people. But the point is, they still made that mistake. And I don't think your right should be revoked forever, because obviously you're still an American citizen. And I think once you've done your time and once you've made up your debt to society, and I would maybe even say, like, after your probation period, reinstate it. But I don't think that how does that work? Because are you still a felon after your probation is over? I don't know.
It depends on the crime, of course. I know somebody personally that was convicted under the First Offender Act. Under the First Offender Act, once you've completed all your parole, probation, you're not a convicted felon anymore. It depends on the crime. It depends on your sentence. It depends on your state. It depends on a lot of shit. But a lot of people once you're a convicted felon, you're always a convicted felon.
Well, and I think that would be a way to start looking at it, like the people who are convicted under that act, that once you've done your time and you're not a felon anymore, definitely they should be able to vote.
That's what it is right now.
So
you can own firearms again. Yeah. You can vote. It's like the felony never occurred. So.
Well, but I mean, obviously,
if you're a habitual offender, you're definitely not going to get convicted under the First Offenders Act. You'll be a felon forever. And that's where I would probably draw the line as, hey, you don't have America's best. You've done this. You're not learning your lesson. Yeah. You're not a productive member of society. I think you probably shouldn't vote. You definitely shouldn't be able to own firearms. Now, there are people that make good points on both sides of the spectrum, but that's where I sit on it. I think if people make mistakes, obviously, we're all human. We're creatures of sin, so just by nature. So everybody should get a second chance. I'm a firm believer in that, but second, third, fourth chance, somewhere you've got to draw the line. And somewhere that has to end.
What about people who are 100% dependent on government subsidies? What do you think about that? Do you think they should be able to vote? Because I know there's going to be a lot of people. I honestly think that if there should be a time period, like say coronavirus strikes, there's been a bunch of people who've been screwed out of a job because of this virus, and I mean that's under no fault of their own.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think if you see these people, and I mean, I used to work for the government, was riding around all the time, and knew the people who would literally complain the most were people who who lived off the government their whole entire life. They had, at this time Barack Obama was in office, they had their government phone. They got food stamps. They were living in government housing, stuff like that. And to me, if you are not under using that program that we have in a legitimate way, and you're still out trying to find a job and you're trying to be productive, if you're not doing that, if you're not trying to be productive, I really don't see where you as an unproductive citizen should have a say in what goes on in government and what government does with my taxpayer dollars.
Okay, this can be a sticky conversation for sure.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying for sure, and it's logical for a lot of reasons. It would be hard to differentiate who's abusing the system and who's not. So I'm gonna lean on the side of they should get to vote. Let me give you an example. Let's say a single mother has 3 or 4 children. The father abandons them. It's not her fault the father abandoned them. She does work. So she does pay.
Well, and
it's
that's
kinda
where it
different what
comes
you're
into
saying.
play.
It's
If
kind
you
of different
do-
than what you're saying.
If she does work, I think obviously she should be able to pay. And
It's tough, man. It's tough. Okay, let's go. Let me use a different example then, because that's kind of exactly what you were saying. Let's say the mother has young children, right? She obviously can't afford daycare. She can't work because somebody has to take care of her kids. She doesn't have any family. She's at home. She's living off government assistance because that's the only way she can make it for right now. I think she should still be able to vote. And that's a unique.
And here's the caveat: we can do it where just men get counted in this. I mean, dude, if that's the situation, and that is the situation for a lot of women that are on government programs, is that I'm fine with just like excluding women from it. Because, and like I said, there is a lot of.
Then it gets even hairier. I feel like I feel like now, while we're on this topic, I'm gonna change gears a little bit. I do feel like people that are on government assistance should have to pass drug tests.
Yeah,
just like
100%. Because I mean, I have to pass a drug test to keep my job.
To even pay the taxes so they can get those government subsidies. We have to pass drug tests. So I'm all for people that live off the government. People that their solely income is based on government subsidies. I think they should have to pass a drug test, and that's just how I feel. Some people disagree with me. Pot's a little different. I mean, I think we're on the verge of seeing pot being legal anyway.
It would be different if we were in Colorado where it was legal.
Right, and I think before long we're going to see it legal in the whole United States anyway. I don't see a reason why it's not already.
Well, and here's the thing too, though. Shout out to our wonderful EHS supervisor. I mean, I asked him one time. I was like, if I go to Colorado where it's legal and smoke pot, and I come back and I get pot for a drug test, but it was duly documented that I was in Colorado where it was legal, will I get fired? He said yes. I said, okay. If I was in Georgia and it was legal and I smoked pot and I came and I pot for THC on a drug test, would I get fired? If it was legal in Georgia, he said you will still get fired. So,
I think it's up to the company's discretion, honestly, because they're a privately owned business.
Yeah.
I don't think it's anything state mandated. I think that may be even the case now, even with it being illegal. I think it's solely up to your employer.
I mean, they don't have to. Your employer doesn't have to drug test. I mean,
yeah,
there's a lot of places that don't.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I think that'd be solely based on your employer. But anyway, I don't even know how we got off on this tangent, but it was a good conversation. I mean, definitely some good points you made. The last thing I have for us is the SEC schedules came out yesterday, Monday, yeah. Which you'll be listening to this a little later on in the week. So this is solely new to us. So what I want to do is let's go through just game by game a brief little what you think's gonna go on this game. We'll do Georgia and Florida. So we'll start with Georgia. Georgia starts off the year at Arkansas. They're breaking in a new coach. Coach Pittman came from Georgia. They don't have a lot of talent on the roster in general. They do have a transfer from Florida. Felipe Franks is going to be, I assume, their starting quarterback. I like Franks, dude. Franks is a good leader. He plays hard, plays with a lot of emotion, and I love that about him. Unfortunately, he's not surrounded with the talent he was surrounded with at Florida or the coaching staff. So I think Georgia takes care of business pretty easily here.
That's evident. I mean, it doesn't matter how good a quarterback is. If he doesn't have his receivers, I mean, you saw this last year at UGA. You had two, I mean, and I'm not bashing any of our receivers. We all have we got decent receivers. But when you have two really, really good receivers on the field, and we had George Pickens and Cager. Cager stayed injury prone all year. Pickens got into a little bit of trouble and then had an injury.
When you have one receiver that's dominant like that, especially with Cager being injured, it's easy to eliminate him from the game.
Out. So I mean,
yeah.
It's,
I
see Georgia winning that game. So
defense is too good, man. Georgia's defense is going to be top 5 in the country, I think, without a doubt. Even playing, I think they got a pretty brutal schedule, and the way it lined up for them is even more brutal for them. Georgia, we'll get into it with this next game. They play Auburn at home, second game of the year. So I'll give my point first. It's going to be early in the year. New offense coordinator, new quarterback. New system. Defense is going to be the defense. And I think this game's going to be a close game.
Yeah.
There's not going to be fans in the stands. I'm assuming that's just pretty much a given at this point. So I don't think the home field advantage is as big as it would be. And if Georgia played them later on in the year, I would say Georgia has their way with them. Not has their way with them, but I don't think it's as good a game. I think this game's going to be really good, especially it being early in the year. Bo Nix is in it, beginning his sophomore campaign. Same offense. Their defenses, they lost some guys to the NFL. Auburn did. That's what I'm talking about. You're getting my genuine reaction here. I haven't looked at this schedule. I pulled it up earlier and never looked at it. Fuck, that's brutal, man. Auburn's second game of the year. And that's a big rivalry.
Yeah,
anything can happen in a rivalry. So right now, and this is barring, of course, people opting out. We've seen it at Florida already. We have some players that aren't practicing right now because I think they're going to opt out, and it's unfortunate because there's some of our better players. Probably our best returning receiver, Trayvon Grimes, hasn't practiced yet. Jacob Copeland, who was poised to make a good leaps and bounds this year, I believe, in this offense. Kadarius Toney, who's a big playmaker for us. You're seeing these guys start to opt out, and I think it's especially for guys that are upperclassmen like Trayvon Grimes, like Kadarius Toney, that had flashes that they could be great last year. This is their year to put some film out there for these NFL teams to see, and I think it's unfortunate that they're passing on it, but I respect their decision. They're doing what they think is best for them, what's best for their family, and I wish them all the best if they don't play. I think as far as a career standpoint, it may be a bad decision. It may be something that comes back and bites them. We'll see. They're good players. They're all capable of being on an NFL team, so...
How long has the college football teams, have they had any summer practice? I mean,
no,
other than,
they just started. So Florida started last week.
Man, that's going to be interesting.
They've got 5 weeks to get ready for game one.
interesting.
And that's another reason why I'm going to pick Auburn here. Because you're breaking in a new system, a new quarterback, trying to get timing down with those receivers. 5 weeks isn't that long.
Yeah,
it's really not. So I'm going to go with Auburn here. And it would not surprise me if Georgia comes out and just has their way with them on defense and just and is able to do enough on offense to just beat them pretty handily. But if I was a betting man right now, seeing no players from Georgia opting out, none from Auburn, I'm going to have to pick Auburn right here. And it's not the end of Georgia's season by any means. No. They could still have a great year, even if they lose here.
What I'm looking at and what we've just talked about coming into play, obviously Bo Nix is probably going to be their starting quarterback, so he's had experience with the guys that he's playing with right now. The only way I see us winning this game is that we just come and absolutely show out in defense.
The defense is going to show out. I can guarantee you this. And you saw it last year. They really pressured Bo Nix a lot, put him on his heels, and he wasn't able to make plays. Florida they learned a lot from Florida in that game because Florida did the same thing. We were blitzed the shit out of him, had him confused. A young guy. We'll see if he can make those adjustments in the offseason, how hard he's been working in the film room. Yeah. We'll see how much he improves. If he doesn't improve any, Georgia wins this game. Yeah. I'm just going solely based on the fact I think he's going to improve some.
His performance last year even had Auburn fans ready to hang him. So
same thing with Florida. He made some. Honestly, Auburn could have beat us. A couple times they were in the red zone or were on our side of the field, and he made dumb plays and had a couple turnovers that cost them the game. Really,
my pick on this, I'm gonna go UGA wins as long as our defense shows up and
the defense play. I can guarantee you one thing.
So
Georgia's defense is going to be good.
You can guarantee me that, but I've been a UGA fan for 25 years, and my other UGA fans out there is going to remit and going to feel exactly the same way.
Well, the defense was there last year, buddy.
Well, and they were, but I mean, it's always
a few plays here and there on offense, and I still don't think they beat LSU because I think LSU was just on another level last year. But I think they run the table. Yeah, they definitely don't lose at South Carolina if the offense can make a couple plays here.
I'm going to go ahead and go with we win this game.
Okay. Next, Tennessee.
Nothing to really talk about here.
I mean, there is a little bit. They're starting to build some depth and get some good players on the roster. Unfortunately, they're still underclassmen, I think.
Well, and they are, and also we got to put in perspective that they didn't have a summer. I mean, it sucks for a lot of teams. I mean, it sucks for UGA because we're having a freshman quarterback coming in, or we have some freshmen and we have a transfer coming in who's never been able to play with these guys.
I feel like it really played in Florida's favor until we got Texas A&M on the schedule. I'm scared of that game. We'll get to that in a minute. Tennessee, I think Georgia wins.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think Tennessee is on the rise though in the East. I think maybe in 2-3 years they can be some serious players in the East. I think Jeremy Pruitt is very good at recruiting. He's not so great at coaching, but at some point, I'll be honest with you. I think Kirby Smart's one of the best defensive minds in the game. As a head coach, I don't think he's the best, but he recruits at such a level that when he comes on, when they enter the playing field, they're at an advantage, big time.
Yeah.
And I think Kirby Smart's going to grow as a head coach as well. He's still early in his tenure as a head coach. When you look at coaches like Dan Mullen, who's been a head coach for a long time, you expect them to be further along in the head coaching aspect. But for some reason, we can't recruit players to come fucking play for us. Anyway, which we're picking up right now.
Kirby
we really
Smart basically did an internship for 9 years with the best head coach in all of college football history.
Yeah,
so
he is the best.
obviously,
head coach.
he's gonna have to look back at basically his football forefather, Nick Saban.
Well, if he
And
gets a
hopefully-
good, which I think he has that this year, a good offensive coordinator, he's going to be fucking tough to beat with that talent he's recruiting on that side of the ball. Defense is going to be fine as long as Kirby Smart's there. I got Georgia winning with without too much problem here. Even though Tennessee seems to be on the rise, I got Georgia winning this one pretty easily.
Speaking of Nick Saban,
Do you got Georgia, of course, in that game?
yes, I got Georgia winning.
All right. Well,
Tennessee.
this one, again, early in the year, this is a fucking little brutal stretch right here. Auburn, Tennessee, and then Alabama. 2 home to start off the year, and then they travel to Tuscaloosa. This, this game's tough to pick too. There's, I don't think the home field advantage is there that we thought it was going to be.
I'm thrilled about.
When I first did these picks, I think it was probably right after the season ended last year. I was taking into account that fans were going to be there. I think I picked Alabama in this game. Fuck it, I'm gonna have to go Georgia. Georgia's defense travels. Of course, we've all heard that saying. I think they do enough on offense. I think right now, without anybody opting out, and I said this even when I picked it last year, I think Auburn returns the most talent in the West. I think they're the best team in the West right now. Now, the game's got to get played. There'll be injuries. There'll be players opting out, I'm sure. I could be totally wrong. Auburn could easily be the first team in the West. They could also easily be the 4th team in the West, behind LSU, A&M, and Bama. So I'm going to go Georgia on this one. I think Georgia rebounds. I think around this time, the offense is probably starting to click a little bit, and the defense is just going to be, without injuries or people opting out, this defense is going to be fucking scary, man. So give me Georgia beating Bama.
Dude, I hate. Excuse me. I hate to disagree with you, because I don't want to ever go against my dogs, but Nick Saban has some sort of a spell cast over his counterparts and the guys that he. And I just feel like Nick
Eventually,
Saban has
it's got to come to an end. All things come
it's
to an
got
end.
to,
And I think Kirby Smart's the person to do it.
I would love to see it this year.
Maybe not this year.
I just don't see it happening this year. I think
it's going to be Kirby that does it.
I think we take an L in Tuscaloosa.
Okay. So but same thing if they lose to Auburn or Alabama. If they win one of those 2 games, season's still on track to accomplish all their goals, which is a national championship if you're a Georgia fan. Then they go to Kentucky. Kentucky's a team that has given Florida in particular problems the last couple of years. They're a scrappy little fucking team. Stoops is doing a pretty good job. They're recruiting for Kentucky. They're just outmatched here, man. Kirby's, I think the defense is going to defense. Depending on who their quarterback is, I still don't know if Terry Wilson's back. He's pretty elusive, can cause some problems for our defense, but Kirby Smart will have a good game plan going in. As long as they don't get too banged up against Alabama, that'll be a physical game. I like Georgia here.
I do too, and like you said, with last year, UK is looking up. I mean, they are, and I think the SEC East is looking up. I think a lot of those guys,
yeah, for sure.
a lot of the the teams that weren't really usually in it, like Tennessee in the past couple, maybe 5 years, we'll say, and then Kentucky, obviously. I'm a real big fan of Sam Pittman. I think he's a phenomenal guy and a phenomenal coach. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do at Arkansas. But yeah, I see us beating UK pretty easily.
Now we're coming to Florida. This one is, I picked Georgia to win. before all the coronavirus shit. Now with less games, normally we would play. You've got 4 games so far. Normally you'd have around 6 or 7, I think, as around the time we play you guys. A little more time to get rolling. I think this is going to be a fucking phenomenal game. I think it decides the East, obviously. This year should decide the East, as barring some unforeseen fucking team coming out of nowhere. This decides the East. I'm proud of the Gators and the strides we made under Dan Mullen. I don't see us beating Georgia. I can't fucking, until I see it on the field, I cannot see us beating Georgia right now because we're so outmatched. This year is a little different because we've got some upperclassmen that have been in the program. This will be their 3rd year in the program. We started to see towards the end of the year, second half of the year, with the exception of the Georgia game and their defense absolutely shutting us the fuck down. We seen the offense start to hit strides. Defense was a little shaky down the stretch. We had some injuries, some people that could not stay out of their own way, could not stay out of trouble. We did lose a lot on that defense, man. We lost Jonathan Grenard. We lost Jabari Zuniga. We lost C.J. Henderson. Those guys aren't easy to replace.
Yeah,
I think on the defensive line we'll be fine. The secondary at corner I think will be fine. We've been recruiting well there. Safety is what really fucking stresses me out, and it stressed me out last year. Donovan Steiner, Sean Davis, Jawan Taylor. What's the other fucker they rotate in and out? I'm drawing a blank right here. Fuck, I don't even know. Somebody's got to step up and be a leader in that secondary. Safety should play downhill, cover the top on the pass, and just fucking be an enforcer. We used to have people like that. We used to have Major Wright. We had Matt Elam. We had Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who was a converted corner. He struggled early on in his career when he was forced to move to safety because of injuries. But guys like that are the backbone of our defense. And I know I'm getting off on a tangent here. I got Georgia winning this game. It could easily go to Florida. And me being a Florida fan, it hurts to pick Georgia. And I would like nothing better. If we don't beat them this year, I don't know if we beat them in the next 3 or 4 years either.
When this kind of comes to my point, I can't remember. I think I picked Georgia when we were picking at the end of the season.
You did.
But
Zach picked Florida.
Florida had a extremely good chance to beat us this year if it would not have been for COVID-19. And especially with y'all have 2 or 3 players opting out, correct?
Right now we do. I'm not sure if they're opting out just of practice for right now. But if you're opting out of practice, you're not going to get on the field.
Either way, it hurts you. I mean, even if you opt out of practice and you go to play, either way, it hurts you. I don't see the coaches letting them play if they opt out.
Right now, from the people I've seen confirmed, most of them are wide receivers, which we are extremely deep at wide receiver.
Yeah.
We've got Justin Shorter, former 5-star Penn State transfer, probably going to be immediately eligible. I don't see a reason why he's not. We've got underclassmen that can make plays. We've got Xavier Henderson, true freshman, that's probably going to get some playing time if these guys opt out. We got playmakers out there. I'm not necessarily worried, except for the experience aspect. And by game 4 or 5, you should be getting used to the college speed. That's different, a lot different than high school, especially in the SEC. So that's not really the reason I'm picking Georgia. I'm picking Georgia because I think their defense is just going to be that good. I don't think their offense doesn't scare me that much, but defense wins championships, and I think it still says this game's going to be in Jacksonville. In the last 3 years, we've seen what happened in Jacksonville. We've lost. We've come up short. Since Mullen's gotten there, I think we've closed the gap on the field, but in recruiting, we haven't. That gap actually may have been widening. Recently here, in the last couple of weeks, Florida has picked up some really good recruits, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So maybe we start to see that gap close, and we've got to, if we want to contend for titles, which is the goal at Florida and Georgia, of course. So I've got Georgia right now.
I mean, I'm going to have to go with Georgia, too, just because of the fact that y'all do have some people opting out, and that the fact that nobody's had time to practice. And
which I think that benefits Florida.
Yeah,
because we're returning so much.
I do think that it does benefit y'all, and if you do win, that could be a real big factor of why y'all did win. But I still, with Georgia's defense, hopefully they come back and they want to show out. And bypassing any injuries or things like
Yeah,
that.
of course,
I see Georgia.
we're not taking injuries into
I
account.
see Georgia winning.
All right, then Georgia goes on the road to Missouri, breaking in a new coach. Kelly Bryant's not there no more. Drew Lott's not there no more. They don't really scare me that much at all, offensively or defensively. This new coach they've hired, I think he will contend from time to time. Maybe once every 3 or 4 years they'll have a shot at winning the East. But right now, there's no chance Georgia wins this game with relatively pretty easily, I'd say. What you got?
I'm gonna have to go with Georgia too.
Yeah, I don't think that.
I don't think that's something that we
I don't
need
know
to
many people
discuss.
that are outside of Missouri fans that would pick Missouri to win this game. So then they go to back home against Mississippi State. Give me Georgia again. A relatively new coach, not a whole lot of talent there in Starkville. Yeah, give me Georgia. I think it'll be a runaway. Honestly, I'm assuming you got Georgia as well.
Yes.
Okay. South Carolina, I think Georgia gets revenge here. I think Muschamp's on his way out. It'll be interesting to see what happens now that they're playing only a 10-game schedule, all SEC, of course. I haven't looked at South Carolina's schedule. Maybe that can help salvage his job for another year. I would be fine with that. I don't think Will Muschamp's a good coach, head coach. Now, defensively, he's elite on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, I would put him probably not in the same category as Kirby Smart, but he's not far. But head coaching wise, terrible. Makes dumb decisions. 2 years ago in the swamp, they should have beat Florida. Last year, they probably should have beat Florida. He just finds a way to lose games that he should win. So Georgia, I don't know how they managed to beat Georgia last year. Honestly, Georgia played flat. Honestly, I got Georgia winning this game easily.
Yeah. One thing about this, we got Vandy next as our last game of the season prior to if we get to the SEC championship. I will always give it to Vandy, dude. These guys, sometimes they just seem to, like, they could be having the worst season they've ever had. And then they come, I mean, even if they come to UGA, these guys sometimes slip up and have a really, really good game.
Mm-hmm.
I
Since
think
Kirby
Georgia's-
Smart's been there, I don't foresee that happening. He's not going to let the guys.
I don't see us losing, but don't be surprised if this is a closer game than you think it will be.
It could be. I don't think Vandy's got a lot of talent on their offense or defense, but they seem to play with a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
So I could see it being close, but I think Georgia, in my opinion, is probably going to be at least 3 touchdown favorites in this game. I think they probably cover the spread pretty easily. So then you got the SEC championship. I got Georgia going 9-1. That should be plenty enough to get them to the SEC championship game, where they'll face the winner of the West. Maybe we'll do another segment later on where we predict bowl games and shit like that, who we think's the best teams in the country. But right now, let's flip the switch and go to Florida. We start out the year a game that was a lot more scary to me pre-COVID. Ole Miss at Ole Miss. Oxford's a beautiful place, Mississippi, flatland for sure. Breaking in a new head coach, Lane Kiffin. I really like the hire. Lane Kiffin is a great offensive mind, and Ole Miss is known for their defense for the most part. I think in the last couple years we've seen that fade away a little bit. But I think people like to play for Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's a good motivator. He's a pretty good recruiter too. But I think Florida, we're just returning too much. I think early in the year that favors us. And I think Florida wins this game at Ole Miss.
No, I agree. I think Florida's got it.
Okay. Moving on, South Carolina. This is another game I think favors us early in the year. Not a whole lot to say here. They're coming to Gainesville. No fans in the stands, of course. But Will Muschamp's just a fucking dipshit. I put up with him for, I think, 3 or 4 years. And there's a lot of games we should have won that we fucking went out of our way and found a way to lose. So, give me Florida. Could be wrong. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they beat us, but give me Florida if I'm betting. You got Florida?
Yeah, I do.
All right, then we go to Texas A&M. A game that fucking, I hate that we drew them out the West. They're returning a lot on both sides of the ball. They've got some playmakers. Jimbo Fisher is a good head coach. There's no other way around it. He used to be at Florida State. He seemed to have Florida's number. Let's hope we fucking change the tide here. If there were fans in the stands, it'd scare me a lot. with the Texas A&M's 12th man. They're fucking loud. They hold their stadium's big. They hold a lot of people. But I'm gonna have to pick Florida in this one. It is what it is. I'm just gonna have to pick Florida.
Dude, I have a lot of respect for Jimbo. I think he's an excellent coach. I don't know if he's as high caliber as somebody like Nick Saban or Dabo or maybe even Kirby Smart, but he is an excellent coach, and I think he's a good head coach. So this being at Texas A&M, even though there's not going to be fans, I see with the traveling, if Florida goes, which we see, I mean, the first couple games, I think they're going to go on a winning streak. And so I'm going to have to go with Texas A&M, not a very big. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think it's going to be a big lead, but I think when it comes down to it, I think Texas A&M might pull it out depending on how Florida shows up.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we lost that game. Honestly, in Vegas early in the year, I don't know what the spread will be, but I wouldn't touch this fucking game. Just because, I mean, you can never tell. A&M played Clemson really good last year. Really, really good. So, moving on, LSU visits Gainesville. They're breaking in a new offense coordinator, new quarterback, same old shit. COVID, not a whole lot of time to get prepared. I think Miles Brennan is probably going to be their starter. Haven't seen him a whole lot, honestly, but from what I hear, LSU fans are very confident in his abilities. He was a highly touted recruit. Fuck that. Give me Florida. I don't give a shit. We're getting revenge this year. I don't think LSU is going to be near, even close to the same team they were.
I think that's what's going to come into a lot of this.
They're losing. They lost so much on defense. They lost Grant Delpit. They lost Clavon Chasen. They lost a lot on defense and even more on offense. They lost the Moss, the tight end. They lost Jefferson. They still got Jamar Chase, who's a phenomenal athlete. But you lose a guy like Burrow. Trust me, when we lost Tebow, those are guys that you're not going to replace. So,
Florida's going to have a lot of guys on the field that are going to remember that game from last year, because y'all have so many people returning. They're not going to have forgot that, because they were a team that gave LSU a run for their money early in the year.
We fucking sure did. Broke my heart that we lost that game. Kyle Trask was early in his tenure as starting quarterback at University of Florida. It may have been. I can't remember if it was his first start or not. On the road in Death Valley, a place you do not want to play. LSU dominates at home. And he made some mistakes that our defense didn't play very well either. We got torched, which little did we know that was one of the best offenses to ever play college football. But we hung in there, and I was proud of the way Trask played. We rotated Emory in at some questionable times. I think a lot of the play calling was skeptical. We played a lot of zone on defense, and we got fucking torched, man. I think we got guys that could have played man up on them. I like C.J. Henderson. I like Marco Wilson. I like Kyer Elam. And I think another big part of that, us losing that game, was Jonathan Grenard had a tweaked ankle. And Joe Burrow, it seemed like we could not get pressure on him for anything, and I think that would have been a game changer if we could have had him in the game along with Zuniga. I think that was a big part of the Georgia game too. He was banged up and didn't play a lot of snaps. So, but you can't make excuses. That's the reason you got to recruit at a high level. You got to have depth if you want to contend for national championships. But I'll let you continue. I got Florida beating LSU.
I've got them beating LSU too. I think they're going to remember last year. I think LSU is going to have an interesting, especially this early in the season, I think they're going to have an interesting time getting accustomed to each other, putting in COVID-19 and no summer ball in perspective. I see Florida coming out. I don't think it's going to be a large margin of gap there, but
it definitely won't be.
I do see Florida coming out, that's not me downing the LSU coaching staff. I think they're going in a really good.
They recruit incredibly. They're up there with Georgia and Alabama every year. Clemson, Ohio State.
Coach O is a
people like him, man, and I like him honestly.
That's the thing, is because he might not be as high class as a coach, but I think the players resonate with him well. I think.
Oh yeah,
I
man.
mean,
He's from that area. He's a Cajun, man,
Yeah.
and people like that shit.
And I
People
know-
like genuine people.
dude, and like I said, dude, I'm a huge fan of Coach O.
Me too.
The way that he gets them guys fired up in the locker room, how he is on and off the field, I think he's number one. I think he's a genuine guy.
Anytime you have a year like you did last year,
Yeah.
you're not going up from there. You can only. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the
Well,
shitty
and-
part of winning a
and,
national
yeah.
championship. You've got to try to stay there. You're not going up. You're not going to be better than you were last
And
year. I'm
also,
sorry, it's not going to happen.
In the situation where you lose your star quarterback, I mean, the best QB one of the best QBs we'll probably ever see come out of the
Well,
NCAA, and then,
he's definitely the best LSU's ever had
So-
that I can remember anyway.
it's just
So,
it's hard to come back from teams like that, especially if you don't have a bunch of returning players.
yeah, I don't.
If they had their team, I mean, if they had lost like 2 people, 3 people, maybe,
They lost-
I'd have them. I'd have them probably winning the national championship
Yeah,
again.
they lost. I'm just speculating here. I don't know. I'm not looking at any stats or anything. I would speculate they lost and they lost their running back. They had to have lost over 80% of their offensive production. Jamar Chase would be probably the other 20 himself. So if you can eliminate a guy like that from beating you, I like our chances. I think LSU probably loses a couple games this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But one of them's going to be to Florida. I got a strange feeling we're going to beat them. Then we go. I mean, we stay at home for Missouri.
I think y'all handle Missouri pretty well.
I don't think there's much to speak on here. Of course, there's always going to be games where you don't play up to your potential, and if you don't do that in the SEC, you can get your ass whooped every week. So, I mean, me saying we're going to beat Missouri is not me saying 100% we're fucking. There's no chance we lose this game, guys. Let's be realistic. There's games every year that teams should win. Georgia, South Carolina is a great example of that last year. There's no way in hell I thought South Carolina was going to beat Georgia. This could be the same scenario here. But Florida should win this game. Then we go to Georgia. We've already predicted this game. We're not going to rehash it. We both got Georgia winning that one. So we're sitting at 1 loss. Then a game I want to circle on the calendar. Franks comes back to the Swamp, barring any injury, of course, and I wouldn't wish that on him at all. Like I said, I admire Franks a lot. Being the quarterback at the University of Florida comes with a lot. We expect a lot of you, especially with 3 Heisman-winning quarterbacks coming out of our university. And he was thrown into the fire early, way before he was developed. McElwain's shitty at developing quarterbacks anyway. He's a fucking douchebag, idiot that can't coach worth the fuck. Sorry, McElwain. All those years I lost off my life watching the fucking McElwain Gators coming to fruition here. But no chance they... Again, when I say no chance, I mean the chances are fucking slim to none that they come in there and beat us. But I do want to watch Franks play. I'll be watching him from afar this year. I'll probably watch most Arkansas games just to see how he does. I like Franks, but I got Florida winning.
Yeah, I do as well.
All right, moving on then. Vanderbilt. I think we can say the same thing that we said about Georgia Vandy. I like the Gators here. Far more talented. I think far better coached. We're playing them in Nashville, but no fans in the stands. If there's fans allowed at these games, that'd be a game I'd be interested to go to because Nashville is beautiful. But I got Florida winning this one. Who you got?
I've got Florida as well. I understand Tennessee has had some really good.
You mean Vanderbilt?
I mean, yeah, why did I think we were looking at? I'm not looking at the schedule. I was in a group chat.
So you got us beating Vanderbilt, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I've got y'all beating Vanderbilt.
Okay, then we'll move on.
Wrong
Kentucky in the Swamp. Florida. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say. There's been some times that Kentucky, especially in the recent years, should have beat us. There's no question about it. But for some reason, we've got their number. Last year, we probably should have lost them. We made a bunch of mistakes last year that cost us a lot of points. And when you start looking at costing yourself points as well as putting up teams for the points for the other team as well, you look at, I mean, something as simple as a touchdown we should have scored, and they score a touchdown off of it. That's a fucking 14-point swing. I don't care what you are. That's hard to make up shit that you should be putting on the board. Yeah, we made a lot of mistakes last year, and we were still able to beat them. Trask was our savior with some help from Kyle Pitts. And I really hope Kyle Pitts plays. Fuck, man. He's huge. He'd be huge to our offense. Probably, if I had to say one player that I think our season revolves around this year, I think Kyle Pitts. He's the matchup problem. He's going to play in the slot, some outside. So you look at him getting matched up on some linebackers, some corners, and it's just a mismatch. Florida beats Kentucky, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Then we go to Tennessee.
Now we're finally here. What I was trying to get
At
to.
Tennessee, I think their season's over by now. I don't think there's much for them to play for. I don't know how the bowl games are going to work. I seriously doubt there's going to be bowl games. I think the playoffs will definitely happen. I think the conference championships are going to happen as long as the season's getting played. I think that's something that's a given. So by this time, I think Tennessee season's over. I don't think they're contending in the East anymore. But there's still that rivalry with Florida. I think Florida wins. We still got something to play for. If things play out the way I see them, we're sitting at 1 loss right now. Potentially, especially if we beat LSU, especially if we do end up beating A&M. If we play Georgia close, you can still see, even if we don't make the SEC championship, sneak into the back door of the playoffs. I think Mullen gets the team up, has a good game plan, and we just got better players right now. We do. I think Florida take care of business.
Yeah, I'd have to agree because, I mean, even though Tennessee has seen an uptick in recruiting, like we go back, COVID-19 strikes, nobody has summer ball, don't have spring ball, you don't have nothing. I just don't see them being able to click and jive as a team. Now, they might prove me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But
I mean, it's a game that
I just don't
we
see
could
it
lose
happen. I don't
for
see
sure.
it. I don't see it happen. I see Florida coming out on top.
Yeah. All right, well, that does it for we went through the schedule, so
Are you happy with the way that the NCAA, or not necessarily the NCAA, but the SEC is kind of laid out their football season?
Yes and no. I think it's unfortunate that they're making it conference only. I mean, if the other conferences want to play, look, what's the difference in driving to
none.
College Station, Texas, and playing a game there, and playing a game in Gainesville against Florida State? I think it's unfortunate. I understand why it's done. Is so they can, try to control. I mean, they're probably responsible. The conferences are responsible for the testing that's going on, so that it's going to be hard to get out of conference games played.
At least the communication will be better.
And I don't think it's out of the picture yet. I know Ron DeSantis, isn't that his name? The governor of Florida. He's really adamant about getting this game played. It's a huge game.
The Florida State game?
For Florida, yeah, Florida State. And I think it sucks.
Well, and I just don't know how much pull he's going to have with it, because if you make, I mean, they'd have to drop a game, because
I think you just add a game.
Not gonna, but if you add a game, who are you going to add for everybody else?
I think for Georgia, you add Georgia Tech.
Well, I mean,
for Alabama, you add somebody. I think maybe just work out a deal with the ACC, because you look at South Carolina, Clemson. That's the obvious one.
We're all so close to each other. Like you said earlier,
I don't think it'd be that big of a deal to work out one extra game with the ACC. That's where most of our rivals are anyway. I mean, of course, you got Alabama, Auburn. That's their big rivalry. They're both in the SEC. But Alabama could play somebody like Notre Dame, who's playing an ACC schedule this year. You could throw.
I think you could.
You could throw Wake Forest at fucking.
I think you could pick 2 close games like Georgia Tech. I think you could pick another close game for Florida, like Florida State.
Yeah,
and you can get somebody else who's close by.
And that's a big rivalry, man.
Yeah.
Florida State's huge. It's not as big as Georgia, Florida right now, just because of the implications in conference. But to say you run the state of Florida,
you got to think back 15 years ago how big that rivalry was.
Oh, it's big. It's big now.
I mean, even in the 80s, especially in the 80s, how big that rivalry was.
Yeah.
I mean, and it still is.
Yeah, it's still big.
It's not as relevant as it has been.
No, because Florida, for a number of years, Florida was down, and now, unfortunately, just kidding, fortunately for me, Florida State's down. Yeah. Willie Taggart, the finesse god.
Dude, he did. He balled.
He's a fucking goat.
He's my hero.
He's a fucking goat. There's no doubt about it.
He's my hero.
Now he's down in Boca Raton. So
rolling in that 20 mil, boy.
Yeah, and now he's getting paid also from Florida Atlantic. I don't know how the buyout shit works.
I think this is going to be a tough season for. I think this is going to be a tough season for everybody in the SEC, and this is the one reason that I don't agree with how we've done these schedules this year, is because we have all SEC teams.
Well, if you look at Georgia added. Who do they add? They added Mississippi State.
Yeah.
And Arkansas. So I mean, those should be 2 wins for Georgia. It's not going to really. It depends on who you draw. You look at Alabama. Let's look at Alabama's schedule just for instance. Who did they get? I mean, their constant is Tennessee, and then they were already going to play Georgia. You look at Arkansas' schedule; they really got fucked.
Yeah.
They play all the teams in the West. I mean, Auburn, LSU, Alabama, A&M, and then you look who they got out the West.
Tough game after tough game.
They got
And, I mean,
Georgia and Florida out the West or out the East.
That's where I'm coming from. Is where I think that the people in the SEC get screwed because, I mean, there's going to be people from the ACC that argue with me about, but dude, Clemson is going to have an absolutely phenomenal season because based on their schedule. I mean, it's gonna happen. Clemson is going to be in the picture.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because their only competition is possibly Notre Dame, probably not even Notre Dame.
I wouldn't look for Notre Dame to do too much.
And that's what I'm saying. Look, I mean, look, the guys are going to be able to run.
FSU isn't the powerhouse they once were. Miami, they say they're back every year, but little do we know they're not back. Trust me. They do have De'Aaron King, transfer from Houston, who's a very good quarterback, very good athlete. But you look at Dan Enos' offense. They had a decent quarterback last year. I know he was young, Jaron Williams, and then you had fucking N'Kosi Perry. It's just a shit show down there.
Yeah.
I mean, they have started recruiting well this year. Of course, Manny Diaz coming in late to the recruiting cycle last year. They didn't end with a good class. It's going to take a couple more years to build that program up. So I look for Clemson to pretty much dominate the ACC. So you're right. I would agree.
That's what I'm saying. I just don't. And there's been a lot of junk talked on Twitter that they're talking about, well, it doesn't even matter who wins because it's not even going. There's teams. Ohio State's not playing. If Ohio State plays, and nobody else matters because Ohio State's going to win the national championship, and if they're not in the picture, then this championship doesn't matter.
You're not going to like what I got to say about that.
Get out of here, bro.
You wouldn't like to hear what I have to say about that.
Get out of here.
I think Ohio State, if they played, would be the best team in the country this year.
I'm not saying they wouldn't be good. I'm not saying that because, I mean, obviously Justin Fields showed out. But
and it's not even Justin Fields. They just got a bunch of good players.
Whenever those guys come down south and they start playing this big boy football, dude, I'm telling you, I mean, they're not going to like it. And I'm not saying they're going to struggle. I'm saying they're not going to like it because I think SEC football is a different animal.
Top to bottom, I think the SEC is better than the Big Ten for sure. I don't think Ohio State, I wouldn't say struggle, but I think they're definitely. I don't think they'd go undefeated. It depends on what their schedule looked like, of course, who they played. I mean, if they played in the East and were able to draw, let's say, Mississippi State and Arkansas out of the West, of course, I think they beat Mississippi State and Arkansas, and I think they probably beat one of the two of Florida or Georgia. So I think they're sitting at one loss, just like Georgia or Florida would be. So I think it's tough for me to say. I think Ohio State, if they played, and this is not a popular opinion, especially in the South, they would be the best team in the country. Looking at their schedule, they're going to play Penn State, Michigan, Iowa, Wisconsin. Those are going to be their toughest games. They probably win all of them. And then they're healthy, and they have those games where they can rest during the season, like Northwestern, for instance, like Indiana, for instance. I know Indiana beat them a couple years ago, or came close to beating them a couple years ago. But that's the games you can rest. And unfortunately, in the SEC, you may have one or two games like that a year, not 4 or 5. And it makes a difference when you get to the playoffs and you're healthy and you're well rested.
Well, and dude, I already had a hatred towards Ohio State because every time I look at Herb Street, I want to punch him in the face. I hate that dude. I can't stand Herb Street. I want dude.
I like Herb Street.
Herb Street, meet me at 205.
Now, Corso, on the other hand, Jesus Christ, is this guy ever going to retire?
No.
Dude, this year, he scared me. Did
you think his picks were a little off?
He looked weird.
Yeah.
He looks like he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about anymore. He used to be one of the best college football analysts in the game.
And they hide him behind that mask he puts on, so they keep him. Dude, he's going to be 5 years dead. He could be possibly dead now.
He could have been dead last year.
They're just using strings and putting
his corpse up there.
Yeah, putting those helmets and mascot heads on him.
And I think we're gonna. Speaking of which, I think we're seeing some some pregame shows really start to take advantage of that. I think the Big Ten noon kickoff. I really like watching their pregame show. You've got Matt Leinart, you've got Reggie Bush, Urban Meyer, really good football people that are really knowledgeable about the game, that played the game. recently and that were successful at the game recently, and it's a good experience. I watched it several times this year, and I liked it.
Well, and you're
And
looking at
they're not really that biased either. You would think. You look at the SEC network, they're pretty. I mean, they're biased. You look at Paul Feinbaum, pretty biased towards the SEC. Not gonna lie, I don't have a problem with that because I like the SEC.
Yeah.
But these guys, Urban Meyer, Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, is it Matt? Yeah, it's Matt Leinart. Cross-eyed guy. Anyway, they really perform without being biased, and it's really surprising, even for their alma maters like Reggie Bush with
unlike
USC.
Kirk Herbstreit.
Kirk Herbstreit is biased. That's for sure.
Dude, Ohio State could be having the worst year of any football team ever. And what pissed me off the most is because that MFer, every NCAA EA Sports game was commentated by him. And it made me so angry. He'd be like, oh, but that's what they're making those stupid recorded comment. Dude, I hate that guy. And on top of that, I dislike Justin Fields because I think he's a bitch. And so that's where I stand on Ohio State. They suck. I hate them.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I hate Auburn more than them.
do you know who Lou Holtz is?
No.
The really old guy with the lisp?
Oh,
He's fucking hilarious, dude. Go Irish.
Dude,
He's biased towards Notre Dame. Is what was my point.
Noah Rios in costume.
Oh my God, here we go. Anyway, guys, we're over an hour already. We've been on here bullshitting. It was a really fun episode today, though. I'm glad we could get it done. Hutto's going out of town this weekend, so we recorded a little earlier. This will probably drop Thursday, Friday, one of the two. So, if you're listening to this, have a good weekend. Make good decisions. Try not to contract COVID and spread it to all us fucking innocent bystanders.
Real quick, it's been a couple episodes since, but shout out to Kyler Garrett and Tatum Garrett. They're having their first kid. It's a baby girl. Really excited. But shout out to them.
Shout out Sig, my guy.
Yeah.
I miss you, brother. I miss talking to you on Fortnite. Really good guy, I will say that. Every time I've ever been around him,
he's a good
dude.
Real. So,
just a good dude. I'm sure his wife's exceptional as well.
Yeah,
he's a good dude,
I've known
man.
both of them since we were all. I watched Tatum kick a kid in the face on the playground in first grade.
Fuck
right
yeah.
right off the slide, man.
Hell yeah.
So shout out to them.
I
Really
like
excited for y'all guys.
They come from a good family too. Shout out to their family for making them. All right, guys. Make sure you subscribe on all platforms. Sponsors. Look, dude, I'm tired of fucking begging you fucks.
Yeah, bro.
Come on here and sponsor us. Give us some dough to upgrade our studio. Because little by little, we're getting better. Anyway, love you guys. Have a good weekend. Make good decisions. We're out. Peace.
Holla.
Thanks for tuning into the B-Max Sports Podcast.
40, 1, Lindsay, 25, 20, 50, 10, 5, Lindsay, stop!
We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Listen, my whole family loves it, man.
I never miss an episode. It's the best.
We'll see you next week.
Go rock this thing, huh? Love you, man. Go get it.